Hello, welcome back to Timeless Conversations, a channel where we talk about life and adulting,
The ups
the downs, and everything in between.
My name is Robina.
And my name is Sharon. Today we're going to be talking about setbacks. I know many of us have been there. We've had seasons in our lives where, things just don't seem to be going the way we hope they should be going. So that's what setbacks are really. You have your life planned out, how you hope things are going to go, and then something just comes and, disrupts you from all that and derails you from all that. So want to, share some of the setbacks we've had, and then also, how we overcame them, how we are overcoming them, because we see life is a cycle and we go through ups and downs. We've all had struggles, and I remember one of the things I remember really struggling with that I felt like really threw me off balance and didn't go the way I had hoped it would be going was to do with my, professional education. Now, if you were in the kind of setup I was in, a setup whereby it's not, first of all, a goal you set for yourself alone, but literally the environment you're in sets that goal for you. So it was the kind of environment whereby, as far as education was concerned, and in this case, everyone was doing SCCA, it's an accounting course. So everyone was like, yes, 2 years, 3 years at most, you've, bagged that
you guys
one.
were bougie. For us, we were jumping on CPA, which is paid in Uganda shillings. You guys were going for USD.
No, it's because the firm was paying for us.
Oh, okay. Makes
exactly,
sense.
Right? So it's the kind of environment whereby not just the education, but they're like, gosh, you enter, you're an assistant in the first year, second year, what are you still doing being an assistant? So
Pressure.
Too much pressure. But I remember really, really struggling with my SCCA career. And of course, right now when I look back, I can sort of understand and, cut myself some slack, but at that time I didn't. A journey that should have supposedly taken me 3 years.
Why do we have very ambitious goals?
Took me 10 years.
It's possible.
Took me 10 years. And of course now, because of that, everyone had this expectation, and because of that expectation, I also had an expectation. But 10 years didn't feel very sweet.
I can imagine.
I must say. So yeah, for me, that's one of the things that I feel like I really struggle with.
So what was your exact struggle of my colleagues are leaving me? What was the exact, what did you feel exactly?
I mean, of course, like you've said, because that's what has been said, there were those that were fortunate and would go through that, and in 2 years, 3 years, they're actually done with the course. So you're like, eish, what's wrong with me? I should also be able to do this. I mean, if they're able to do it, then I also should. So yeah, that's where the struggle really was, that you were not meeting society's expectations and also your expectations of yourself, because
but I feel like that stemmed from comparison.
That's
like you were not walking your own journey, but you were there walking your journey, comparing it to someone else's journey, and hoping that yours also pans out the same way that theirs has. But is life like that though?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Life is never like that, because you can imagine everyone that we finish school with, everyone is on like different journeys. Some people are head of institution, CFOs somewhere. Others are in the village farming. Others, life really just turns out very different, and it's not a straight line for everyone. So let's cut the comparison and really just walk your journey and pursue your own goals and make sure that you're getting where you want to be. Me, I think that's more productive if you are better than the person you were yesterday. Maybe you were struggling with one of the course units, and then after struggling, you actually pass it. That's a victory in itself. That's a step ahead.
It is.
And it doesn't have to look like for the other person who finished it in 3 years. It can look like this and still be success. And I feel like in our settings, we struggle with taking credit or just accepting success in all its different forms. Yeah. But comparison is bad.
It is. It is. It is.
For me, a setback. Let me share a very recent one, and it was in a very short period of time. I had a surgery at the beginning of this year. And the surgery went well, and I was recovering well. And then all of a sudden, I had this splitting headache that wouldn't go away. I tried to endure it, I think, for a week until I couldn't anymore. I even tried to be normal. You know how, I don't know what's wrong with us Africans. You're sick, but you want to act like you're okay.
Yeah.
I remember there's a day I even took my son to school. Like I got the car, drove and took him to school myself. But I was sick. I had a headache that just wouldn't go away. I reached his school. I got out of the car. I couldn't go anymore. I was throwing up. I couldn't sit straight. So one of their guards is the one that drove us back home, that drove me back home.
Wow.
So that's when I realized that, okay, I am actually not okay. I need to go back to hospital. But it was nothing to do with the surgery. But I think it was just the effect of one of the medication that I was taking. You guys, that headache was so bad, I couldn't sit straight. And when I reached hospital, it even became worse. I was throwing up. They put for me all sorts of painkillers, but I wasn't getting better. You guys, I thought I was going to die. I saw my life flash before my eyes. So I started worrying. So I think about my child. So I think about like my whole environment without me. And I'm like, this is not happening. And you know, that's how life is.
It is.
In just a snap, you could be gone. So I was really, really scared. I was like, I'm not ready to go. I was now praying those prayers of God, I'm not ready to go anywhere. But that headache was so bad, even in the doctor's office, just even in the insurance desk, I couldn't sit straight. So I asked them, please, can you give me somewhere to lie down, as the person who took me takes care of the insurance details and everything. So they took me to the emergency ward, giving me painkillers, but it wasn't working. You know that IV paracetamol?
Yeah.
Nothing.
That should be able to.
I even swallowed some, but nothing. So they just told me they need to admit me back to hospital. Now, let me tell you, those 4 days, I think it was a whole week. That 1 week was such a tough time for me. I thought, okay, this is real. I am real going just like this. There's nothing, no pain, no sort of painkiller was able to help
the pain.
Yes. So I was really, really stressed. But eventually I was admitted back. Still, I was in that state of, am I going to die? Because I'd never experienced such pain before. And it had nothing to do with the surgery. For me, that was what was frustrating. So I was admitted. They gave me all kinds of strong painkillers. I realized even one of them that I was on is addictive.
Morphine?
It wasn't morphine, something, codeine, something like that.
Codeine, yeah.
And when they first gave me the first shot, I didn't like how I felt. And for me to think that people take that to feel high, I was like, what high is this? I was feeling weird. Anyway, just that whole season was such a setback for me. Actually, it didn't start on that surgery journey, but before, when I discovered that I had a condition that needed surgery.
Yeah.
I remember calling my mom and crying. and she's the one who was encouraging me. It doesn't mean the end of the world. Like, she really consoled me. But living with a condition is something that doesn't leave your mental state the same. Like, you're constantly thinking about it, you're constantly worried about how bad it can get and stuff like that. So for me, that season, and it took about 4 months for me to eventually accept to do the surgery and to eventually get better. So it was such a difficult time. And to keep your mind positive in such seasons.
I mean,
work.
That's what setbacks really do. Like, first of all, they're emotionally, should I say, taxing moments.
Very
because
much.
I mean, this is not where I want to be now. Literally, that's what you're telling yourself. That's what your brain is saying, that this is not where I want to be. Or why am I in bed? Why am I bedridden right now? Yeah. I could be doing a lot.
Which pushed me to get up and drive to Jaden's.
Exactly. You're like, no. I can't stay bedridden.
I can't.
And yet, wow. That's what really, like, setbacks do to us. And, I mean, they can be personal, like you've said, because of your health. It can be something to do with, like, academics, something to do with, your work. Maybe, for example, if, and for some reason, like, yes, it's not good to have comparisons, but you see, people set goals, and you've set your goal and you've said, okay, this is how I want my career to be. And I think it's all set in society. Like, you go to school, finish nursery school, primary, secondary, university, start working. After you've started working, professional course, like, be an assistant, a junior, like, grow through the ranks. But unfortunately, that's not how life is for everyone. Yeah,
it's not a straight line.
It's not. So it's really important for us to realize that, first of all, everyone has their journey, and embrace the journey that you're going through, and know that, it's your journey. Love it for what it is, because when you do not, it has an impact. It has on your life as well. If you're living in denial and, self-doubt and comparison, it also puts you in a bad mental state.
Very bad, actually.
Because you can be depressed. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I wonder what people think when they see me and see where I am now. And even not just me. I know of someone.
Which people do you mean?
Like society, like people who
knew you back then,
who know me now. You get. And most times it's people who know you now that don't know how far you have come to get to where you are. They don't know the amount of work you have put in. They just want to be where you are now. Yeah. They don't realize that you actually have to put in work, that there'll be moments when you don't feel like doing it. There'll be moments when you feel like you want to give up. I remember I was once watching a YouTube video about a gentleman. It was a TED Talk, those TEDx's that are organized independently, and it was about some athlete. I think he's called, is it Alan Smith? One of them. He's a professional footballer, and he was, sharing his story.
I watched it.
Yeah, about like, even when, like, how you listen, there's some things you can listen to, and when you're not watching, it doesn't feel like. But this story, even when you were not watching but just listening to what he was saying, you would understand the pain that he went through. Yeah, he was a professional footballer, career going well, and then, suddenly, that American football, they like, I think it's our version, is it rugby? Something like that? Yes.
Something like that.
Something like rugby. And I think he was tackled by like 2 big guys. And the way he explains his injury, he equated it to stepping on a landmine.
Whoa.
Exactly. So, and there was a picture of like how his leg was after, like how a leg should be straight like this, but the leg was, like when you hear that story, like how do you even jump back up after this? Like his leg got injured, the whole process of even like the treatment, like how you were saying you were going through the treatment and you were like, what's happening? His leg was so beaten up. I think maybe it was even broken into pieces. Like at some point I would stop listening because it felt too much for me to bear. They had to cut his skin from his thigh to go and put it on his leg so that, like it grows back. To the point, how you are so badly injured, those wounds where they can't show you, or maybe if it's like a face injury and they hide the mirror away from you, they would put like a sheet so that he doesn't see when they're treating him. He was so badly injured that they didn't want him to see that injury. But in all this, he goes on to share how, of course, he goes through the treatment. They actually thought he was going to die. Yeah, imagine just a leg injury.
Me, I was thinking amputation. They were thinking of death.
No, like why death was because his wound got so infected, it got septic, that he had bacteria, like flesh-eating bacteria, that if it reached the rest of his vital organs, would just eat him. And like I said, the story was gruesome and scary. But in all this, he makes it through the recovery, like in the hospital, then of course has to go through rehab. Now, I don't want to imagine the pain, but rehab is probably equally as painful as the whole process of, like the surgery and all that. But, in all that, 2 years later, he finds himself back on the field and is playing. Exactly.
I'm sorry, what?
2 years later.
From the
of
time
course,
of
I'm
the
cutting
injury.
like the story short.
No, I get it.
Yeah, like who bounces back?
That
from
was a
such
miracle.
An injury? Who bounces back like that?
I don't think it's the TEDx that I watched. The one that I watched was you know how they keep putting you at the back of the line or making you wait. The rest, the good players go and play.
Not giving you a chance to go and play.
Yes, and how it plays with your mind.
Of course.
But then you later turn out to be the best player ever, like in your position. So it's a different one. But how did that
I may tell you
person get healed in 2 years and get back to the field?
For him, he related it to like the support system he had. Like his wife was very supportive, and then I think the gentleman who was helping him through rehab, because he mentioned that for him the turning point was during rehab, that time when like the coach or trainer or therapist like got the football and gave it to him and told him like throw it.
That was daring.
Like he was saying that he had been playing football literally all his life, but in this whole journey of being sick, he had not like even touched the football. And that when that coach like gave him that football, is it the therapist, like that changed his mindset. First of all, his mental mindset, and I think it like kind of
I feel like it even sped his healing.
That's the thing, yeah.
Because that's such a short time for someone to bounce back.
I'm telling you, 2 years. Imagine how hard he worked to do that.
Yeah. And he went on to win.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's such a beautiful story.
Yeah,
but I think it has a lot to do with the state of your mind.
Very much.
Because if you are constantly being negative, I feel like the devil will dance in that mud. He will take advantage of that and make you feel worse. And I feel like the state of your mind contributes to your physical well-being as well.
It does.
Because now he held the ball, and I feel like it did something to him. It gave him hope. It gave him like faith that he can bounce back. And for some reason, that could be the only fuel you need.
Yeah.
I think I also read a similar story in in a book. I think it was also a sports person. It's a book about habits, and I've really forgotten the title of the book. It's a very common book, but the title has just skipped my mind. And this guy also got an accident. He was also a sports person. And for him to be able to bounce back and to become normal again, he also had to go through physiotherapy and stuff like that. But for him, what helped him was gradual steps, like gradual, doing things gradually that lead you to like become normal again. For example, building habits like just taking a stroll when you couldn't, like now the gentleman who broke his leg, just taking a stroll every day. Today you walk like maybe 100 or 10 meters. The next day you increase by 1 or by 5. By the 5th day you can go a whole 1 kilometer. So for him it was just stacking his habits, doing the same thing over and over again, but increasing on how far he can go and pushing his body to, you know, be able to do more. So it goes to show that your physical state really shouldn't be a big setback, because
it shouldn't.
Your mindset should be in the right frame, and then it should fuel your body to even fight on. Actually, for me, what helped me in that season when I was sick was the person that was taking care of me. She would pray for me. She would talk to me. Like, by the way, you could tell in my face that I'm very worried. I was in hospital, very worried, very sad, but she kept talking to me, praying for me, encouraging me. And for me, that was the fuel that I needed to be strong and to fight on. So setbacks happen, but how we respond to them is what that matters.
And you know, you mentioned something really, really important. The importance of having like people you can lean on during setbacks. Like it can't be downplayed at all.
True.
At all. Because you can easily bounce back on your own.
Can you?
If you have someone called God.
Fortitude.
But it's also not like on your own entirely, without any human support. If you have the spiritual support of God. But honestly, as human beings, we're not meant to be islands. And I mean, for me, just using like the whole academic issue I had, I remember I had like friends, for them, they didn't struggle as much as I did. And they would always encourage me, you know, like I got to a point at some point where I stopped sitting papers. So that's why the journey was also longer. It's not that I'd always do and like fail. But I got to a point where I had actually literally given up. But you know what's so funny? I was giving up when I had like 3 papers left.
Imagine
3 papers left. But because of the encouragement of my friends, the encouragement of family, you know, like, you know, just keep doing it, keep trying it. It really, really played a huge role in, you know, me not giving up. Because imagine if they were the type of friends, for example, like, for you, how come you're not like acing this? Like, I remember that paper was so easy. How come for you failed it? But, you know, the empathy from friends that shows that, you know, they really care, it made a big difference for me,
That's really nice. And it helps because you're not dumb.
Right, I'm very brilliant.
Yes.
But though I failed some of those papers,
I think
it can make you feel so dumb.
I think it's an accounting professional course thing.
But, I mean, really, to cut ourselves some slack as accountants, you are doing a job where you are working from 8 to not 5.
Maybe 8.
Exactly, not 5. Yeah.
It can never
and
be
I remember
5.
During the times when we would be having like classes, I would be in the field for like 2 weeks. So I would miss like class for like 2 whole weeks.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And then there's some of us who learn in class.
So really, yeah,
Cut yourself some slack.
because it's not as
But
easy
also
and straightforward.
education.
Adult education is not easy.
Education.
It's not for the faint at heart.
Me, I know people
It's
who just
not.
told themselves
Mm.
that my degree is enough. So they went on to pursue different things because so they just educate themselves using podcasts, self-help books, attending seminars, webinars, anything that can teach them about what they are trying to pursue. They'll jump at it. But to go back to mainstream education, they said no.
And that's actually very brilliant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
set goals that, if you're very sure that for me, this route, if I go it, I'm setting myself up to fail then.
Or
set realistic goals that you can actually achieve.
I am going to spend less time when I take this other route than when I go for a master's 2 years and I'm locked in there for 2 years. It doesn't make sense to them. So people's journeys are different.
Very different.
And setbacks show up in very different and dynamic ways. But how we navigate them, how we get past them,
plays a big
is the
role.
important part. Yeah.
I mean, then, of course, you mentioned, we somehow hinted on it, but it's also really important to have like a good, should I say, spiritual backing, because we can have friends, but they'll not be there with you 24/7 when it is just you and your mind.
That's true.
Because it all starts with the mind. It all starts with the mind. And when it's just you and your mind, then you better be having a spiritual backing to help you actually counter whatever it is that the enemy is trying to tell you.
True.
Because like you said, we are not dumb. But let me tell you, you can feel some element of stupid. Because, and I want to encourage really people who have struggled on the professional career journey, because I have been there. I know what it feels like. And right now I know people who are going through the same. Yeah. Just, first of all, take it one step at a time. I feel like I'm dwelling on this, but who knows whom it's encouraging.
True.
I think when I finally look back, one of the reasons why I probably struggled was, first of all, remember I was saying I wasn't in class all the time, but you'd want to sit 3 papers at a time. Right? Laughable.
You are very ambitious.
Very ambitious of me.
I think the pressure was too much.
Exactly. There was too much. So please, do not let the pressure around you swallow you up to the point that you start setting unrealistic targets for yourself. For me, I started making progress when I started doing one paper. I said, you know what? I don't care if I finish after 20 years. I want to do 1 paper each sitting.
SCCA doesn't have a cap.
No, it used to have the cap, but it used to have the 10-year cap as well, but it was lifted. It's now not exactly 10 years from when you register, but when you start what they call the professional journey, now I'm going academic, when you start the professional journey, there's a gap, and it always shows in the portal that this paper that you sat before these ones you're attempting has 7 years before it expires.
Okay.
So, it's literally per paper. So when you do a paper, it now starts counting. I think it's either still 10 years or 7 years, but not from when you register. Yeah.
So that's
kind of, it made it, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But when it comes to those professional courses, can make you feel a certain type of way. Me, I'm sure But it's possible to sit 3 papers and pass them. But look at your
Very possible.
circumstances.
Very. We're not saying it's impossible. It's very possible.
To sit those 3 or even 5
Even
and pass
5.
all of them.
But
you need to look at
know
your
your situation,
circumstance.
really.
Are you in a job where it gives you time to read? Are you in a job where you are always present, like that allows you to attend classes? Is your schedule flexible enough for you to be able to find ample time to be able to study all the 3 papers, all the 5 papers?
Yeah.
And then you can make an informed decision on how many papers you can sit. So adult education is about planning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and then putting in a lot more effort. So there's an event that is usually organized by CPA. It's called usually around Women's Day, if I remember well. So one of the ladies, I think it's Women in Accounting or something. So one of the ladies that presented a certain time that I attended said that for her to be able to complete her course in a short time, she had to do drastic measures. She quit all WhatsApp groups. She literally had no WhatsApp group on her phone. She had no distractions. She had a very supportive husband and a very supportive maid. Like she had very, very little distractions. Her phone was majorly for making calls and maybe chatting with family. So she cut out certain things, no going out. Her schedule was strict. You could know where she is at this point in time where. And for those 2 years, that is what she was doing until she finished. But are we all willing to make those sacrifices? Well, it depends honestly, on...
I feel like sometimes when you make those...
It's still possible, for you to it to not go the way you've planned. But just sharing that
it's possible.
It's possible. Someone did it before. However, you should be willing to make the sacrifices. Or your circumstances should be able and should be an enabling environment for you to make those sacrifices.
Indeed. Wow. I've actually remembered something. There was someone I was listening to by is it Stephen Fatick? I hope I've pronounced that name correctly.
We've understood. We know the person.
He said that if you're going through a season where you're having setbacks, maybe you need to think about your life choices. Something like, I'm paraphrasing, like think about your life choices. Maybe God is telling you that maybe this is not where you should be. I'm now like shifting gears entirely, because sometimes I think we get so stuck in a space and insist on something that actually is not for us. So maybe God is telling you, this is actually not a setback. You actually need to move away from this. So for him, he brought it up from this perspective of sometimes setbacks is really God telling you that, this one. So I think when we have setbacks, we need to have moments where we actually sit back and reflect and, look at your life. Why is that setback happening? Like, actually reflect. Don't just wallow in the misery. Oh my gosh, things are not going well. But actually reflect and come up with like an action plan. Like your friend who sat down and said, this is what I'm going to do in order to achieve this. If she actually sat down and said that, this is actually something I really feel I need to do to achieve. So maybe your setback is something you need to sit back and reflect on your life and see whether maybe the choices you have made are actually the choices you need to make. Or maybe it's time for you to take the next step. I know of someone who had a setback at work during the time of COVID, when people were being fired left, right, and center, layoffs. those who are retained getting salary cuts.
Man, it was such a tough time.
Exactly. And this person, like, really sat down and evaluated and said, okay, do I still want to continue in this journey? Or do I now maybe step back and do this other thing that I think will work for me? So really, it's just something for you to think about. And, maybe your setback is really
a redirection.
A redirection. Nice one, Robina. Yeah.
I'm thinking about it as you speak.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes maybe they are sticking to some things that are just not shifting. Even just staying on a certain job, naenga you're struggling.
Exactly. Exactly.
Instead of moving on, they are stuck. Just because you're afraid of what's on the other side of.
Oh, and is it scary or is it scary?
It is, but
the unknown is very scary.
Sometimes you need to take a leap of faith.
Always.
And just trust that it will be okay. It will be good. God will, take care of what's on that other side. Yeah. But life is never a straight line.
It's not. And yeah, I mean, I remember I was chatting and I was saying that I was telling someone that people think that life is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, to the end, but that's not how life is, because that's literally like the straight line. Life can move from A, go to C, go to E, come back to B. Like, it's really like, there's no perfect life. Maybe some people have it perfect, but
do they?
Do you really? If you think you do, think about it. But you can also tell us. But yeah, I mean, life is not perfect. Embrace the life that you have, yeah? And when you get through those seasons where things are probably not going the way you expect them to, then sit back, reflect, and see what the next chapter of your life holds. So sit back and reflect on your life and see where the next chapter of your life takes you, because some people say setbacks are not setbacks, but they are. Come back. So who knows?
Nice one.
Yeah. Who knows what the next chapter of your life holds? So please share with us some of the setbacks you've had and how you overcame them. Let everyone else know how to overcome them, because what we share here is really just a tip of the iceberg. It's not everything. So we really love to hear your comments and your thoughts. They really encourage us as well. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you for watching the video, but don't forget to like the video. Until next time, bye.